Hello and welcome to the Global Health Rebellion. My name's Troy Colmer, and we've got a very special guest on here today. She is an Energizer Bunny, Trina Nari, sorry, I get that last bit right. Um, so I haven't known her that long. We met at the retreat of Kerry's retreat, and she was one of the people there doing painting, which was something I hadn't seen before to help people. And she is just like, remember the Energizer Bunny that used to be on the TV? They don't really have it anymore, or they may do, and it just keeps going and going. Well, when I met her, that's what she reminded me like. So, um, a very warm welcome. So how are you today,
I
Trina?
am so good. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for having me and for your introduction. I've never been introduced like that before, but people are like, oh, you could talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles and all these other kind of comments. So yeah,
No,
no,
I
thank you
just
so
found that your
much.
energy was just so high. I was so excited just to talk. We could have stayed talking for hours.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely my forte, and it's really funny that, and I say this to people all the time, is the thing that you were kind of picked on as a child, that's your thing. That's your natural element. What could you naturally do? And I got so many comments growing up, like, talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles, for soccer, for work, for whatever. I always got these awards about the person that talks the most, or you never shut up. And I always seen it as a negative aspect of myself. But as I've grown older and as I've come into the online space and coaching, it's my natural talent. It's actually such a gift. And yeah, so it's really funny that how we kind of come around like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is a very good gift to have because I'm before I started on this journey, I was a very private person, and
Yeah,
although I do chat a bit, but it wasn't my forte,
yeah, yeah.
Um,
There you go.
I'm very good at helping people, but getting into the chatting space and the online thing and the social media stuff and like that's just not me, It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
it's
yeah,
yeah, it's not me at all.
yeah.
So anyone that's sees me on the online space, well, you got to bear with me. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm a I'm a work in progress, that's for sure.
It's
Uh,
like when I do the coaching and that, some of the girls have the I'm not enough kind of wound. And I'm
yeah,
like, I have the I'm too much. I'm
yeah,
too much. Or, we get people in the online space where their coaches are like, you need to post more. And I'm like, I need to post less. So it's, I think you're either one or the other, right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
But
yeah,
well, that's how it's meant to be, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's life. That's how life's supposed to be like that. And
Yeah.
also, part of life is building, building a journey. Because
Yep.
otherwise, if you just stay the same, then you become stale. Even if you're like you and Energizer Bunny, see, you're going the opposite way, coming down a bit, but it's
Yeah.
still building.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then you've got to build to go, okay, sometimes I've got to come to someone's level that's the energy level is a little bit lower. But
100%
no,
balance
yeah,
it
but I
out.
love it.
Balance it out.
Yeah. So you have some very interesting stories to tell.
Yes.
And also Trina is on a very big mission too to help suicide.
Yeah.
And so for the people out there that may be struggling with these type of things and these type of thoughts,
Mm.
know that please go and seek professional help because I'm not professional at all for that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Trina's story is going to help you, I hope,
Mm.
to know that life sometimes life can really get you down, but
Yeah.
it's only in the moment, because there's always going to be another moment. So get you down for that bit. But then if you just start to build, you just go, okay, well, this next moment, I'm going to do something to get myself out of this thinking. It might just be something simple like sitting in the sun. It might be something like having a little walk in the bush. It might be just something simple. Like
Mm.
just live it, just like an alcoholic, you just got
Mm.
to build the moment, build the moment, build the moment. And then also, which is a very good thing to do, is to hang out with someone like Trina that's got abundance of energy uh, because it's infectious.
Yeah.
And so you need to really check your environment. If you have any thoughts or anything like this, you really
Mm.
need to check your environment.
Mm.
And even if you have to get up and move, like even if you have to move away from family, friends, or whatever, to get into some sort of environment where it's high, like a high intensity environment, like a trainer environment. I keep saying because
Yeah.
she's like She's the
And, you know,
Energizer Bunny.
it's funny that you're saying that as well, is because I'm the complete polar opposite of what I used to be, guys. And I've always been a feeler and I've always felt very, very deeply. So when I did used to go into those deep, dark spaces, and I have a story of I was suicidal. There were times in my life where I wanted to take my own life. And it was really living through those experiences and being in the darkness and learning about it on the ground that has brought me to where I am now. Like, yeah, I still have like kind of flat moments, but it's here. Like, this is my natural state of being now. It's not here. And it's all around your mission as well, Troy, is about raising the vibration, right? Because my natural state of being used to be about here and I used to drop right down. Whereas now I'm up here. So I only drop to here, you know, I don't become the emotion. And it's all about learning about emotional regulation and not making your emotions wrong and knowing that we all feel. And in this society, we've been so conditioned to suppress our emotions and make our emotions wrong that you go into a fight or flight. And, you know, you may experience yourself and you know what I'm talking about when I say that, you know, you're crying and then you get upset and you're like, oh, I don't know why I'm crying. And then you get yourself in this fluster because you're feeling like the emotion's wrong. When you know that it's not wrong, that it's okay. And sometimes we just feel because we are emotional beings. It makes it so much easier to move through it. Learning about emotional intelligence, learning about emotional regulation, watching what you eat, how much you sleep, how much water. The reason why I do holistic health, lifestyle, and business coaching is because it's not just one single thing. It's a whole, right? It's the whole 8 areas. And like the tattoo, I was just showing Troy before we got on, the tattoo, who has ever heard of the semicolon project? This was my first tattoo and I got it when I
Just
was
for the
30.
listeners at home, just explain the tattoo.
Yeah, so I got it when I was 30 years old. And I actually lost an ex-partner to suicide when it was just after I had Maddie. So I was 20, turning 21. And the semicolon is what the author wants to use when they want to end a sentence, but they decide not to. So, you know, the full stop turns into the apostrophe at the top. And the sentence is you and the story. No, the author is you and the sentence is your life. So basically, yeah, it's just every time I look at it, it's my mission here on this planet. It always has been, you know, it's just coming to and developing and finding. In the last 3 years, I've done my own healing work. And I still remember a year ago, I was actually at a retreat, similar to what your beautiful Kez ran, which I was lucky to be at as well. And retreats change lives. And it was at that retreat that I realized I knew what I was here for, right? I knew what my message was. I knew that the life I had lived had led me to exactly where I was. And it was such a scary and invigorating, is that the word? Like, it was this moment where I was like, oh my God, that's what I'm here to do, but it's huge. Like, that's fucking massive. Like, how do you be a part in helping to end suicide on this planet? And it's quite simple, is I'm helping to be a part. We can't end suicide with one of us, but with all of us, and even with you, Troy, with doing, like, raising the vibration on this planet is exactly the same thing. It is helping in being a part in ending suicide on this planet, because it's when we're down, when we're low, when we become our emotion, when we have no idea about that, we can act on emotion and make a decision that it's irreversible. It's 100%, you know, you're not coming back from that. So, yeah, very in alignment with you, Troy, when you talk
So
about raising the vibration.
Could we give like a couple of steps to someone if they were feeling that way? Like what would you recommend, being that you've been through the experience? Like, how would someone start to become, because I've never been suicidal, but I've experienced a little bit of, you know, depression, not very much, not much. But so what would you give to someone that they could do to get out of that situation? And the other thing is, too, you mentioned food. I think food and exercise, like, everything matters. This is the thing that people need to realize too. It's not one thing, is it? Like, everything matters. But what would, like, how would someone sort of start? Like, where would they start?
Yeah. So you've got prevention and you've got a cure or a quick fix or something that you put in your tool belt. So I would say, if you are in that state of mind and if you're there and you're like really deep in the fucking depths and you're like, I can't see a way out, I want you to remember my voice and I want you to understand that this feeling too shall pass. if you remind yourself of that right then, emotions are normal. They come and they go. Emotions equals energy in motion, right? It's energy in our body. We're energetical beings. If you can understand the concept of the fact that a doctor will get electricity and put it on your heart to shock you back to life, we're electric. Okay, so that's the first thing. Is emotion is literally an energy current coming through our body. Depression is a chemical imbalance in the brain. So what's in our environment? So if you look at the clinical diagnosis of depression, it is a chemical imbalance in the brain. And that's why they put you on different things like medications and that to sort out the chemicals. What I want you to realize is, where do the chemicals come from to start off with? They come from our environment. They come from our food. They come from our water source. They come from outside of us. We ingest. We have to ingest these chemicals to actually put them inside of our body in the first place, which causes the chemical imbalance. So you may be on depression or anxiety medications at the moment, and that's A-okay. If you're looking at coming off these things, first go and work with a GP to help you to get off it, but also work with a holistic health practitioner and clean up your diet. And I say to people, when you're looking at, there's so much noise out there. You just need to eat the rainbow. Every color of food has a different nutrient that is specific for each organ in your body, right? So if you eat the rainbow and you're getting all of your colors, you're eating when you're hungry, you're eating only until you're full, and you're looking at eating raw foods. So if you go into the supermarket and you turn a label over and it's got numbers on it, that's a chemical. That's not natural. Don't put it in your body. Don't put it in your body. It's not meant to be in your body. Food is meant to go off. And if something's not growing mold and it's not going off, I would not, like, your digestive system is not going to be able to break that food down. It's not natural. So 8 hours sleep, 100% perfect. 8 hours sleep is the number one thing that will change so much. You'll know yourself. If you are a new mum, or if you've had a bad night's sleep, right? The next day, what happens? You don't have as much control as you did, right? Because like when we're tired, we become grumpy, we become snappy, we become irrational, it's because the sleep is so important. Sleep, there's so much, I could go into so many areas around, our brain processes information, it stores stuff, we heal while we sleep. So 8 hours sleep is so important. And if you're not getting sleep, I can highly recommend, there's actually a free app. It's called Insight Timer. It's free. It's got everything from soundscapes. It's got yoga nidra meditations. It's got so much different stuff that you can actually train your brain to switch off. If your brain's still going, then you've got too much energy in your body. You need to incorporate exercise. And food is energy as well. If you're getting too much food and the wrong food, not only if you're getting the wrong food, you're going to feel lethargic because it's chemicals in your body and you're not going to want to move. But the thing is, you need to fucking move because you need to move the energy out of your body so that your brain can switch off so you can go to sleep. So there's so many elements. I hope that something has kind of come from this. My first point of call would be, though, if you are feeling in that moment, just know and just remember my voice that emotions are normal and this feeling too shall pass. Go outside and take some deep breaths. The reason why people smoke is because they think it calms them down. It's not the nicotine that's calming them down, it's the breath. So you might feel stupid going out the front if you're a smoker and trying to give up smoking. You might feel stupid that you're like pretending to take a cigarette, but it's the habit and it's actually the breath that calms us. So you'll notice straight away, if you just sit and you go, you know what, it's okay, because it's also mind over matter. It's okay, and just big breath and hold it and let it out. And it's the same over nighttime when we're asleep. And what this does is it slows down the blood flow. It slows down the body. And it really, as I said, we're energetic beings, right? And that's how you really interrupt it so that it really slows everything down. So
yeah, that's
does
unreal.
that help?
Yeah,
a lot of information at once, but
yeah. And but also the environment too is a big thing.
100%.
So
100%.
yeah,
we become what we think.
Yeah. Yeah, with drugs, I'm just not a fan of them, because they just make them numb. Like everyone that I spoke to, they just said they go from too much emotion to zero. You know?
100, and this is the thing as well. And I'm anti-meds. I was 12 years on depression, anxiety medications, and I can tell you that some of the medications actually made me suicidal. They come with adverse effects, and the idea that I even know people that have gone and they've lost partners, or they've lost someone and they're grieving, and doctors have put them on medications. Now, I tell you guys, emotions are not like, if I'm talking about something and it triggers a tear, or like I can feel it, I go, oh, there's some healing I need to do. There's something that if it's upsetting you, you need to talk about it. You need to get to the bottom of it. You need to, and this is really going into the depths of triggers, right? People think that triggers are a bad thing, or, oh, that person hurt me by what they said. They're not trying to hurt you by what they said. Some people aren't. You know, like if you're like scrolling online and you've seen that someone has had an opinion about something and that's triggered an emotion in you, that's an invitation for you to go inwards and go, oh, what is it about this? Is it the fact that they are achieving great success and I feel like I can't? Because we're the only person that is holding ourselves back from achieving that success. So yeah, I'm with you as well, Troy. Like, you can't, you have to feel to heal. And we've been so conditioned to see emotions as a scary thing when they really are not. They're really not. And that was the first point, right? When you feel these emotions, it's normal. Tell yourself and let yourself know it's normal. It's the conditioning that you've made yourself think it's not normal. Therefore, it becomes scary. And then you get in this whirlwind and then you're like, oh my God, you're okay. It's normal. Everyone fucking cries. I might look like this big, beautiful Energizer bunny right now. 2 days ago, I had a cry. And what I really love is, now that I don't make it wrong, I had a cry the other day and my 13-year-old daughter came into me and she said, Mum, what's wrong? Are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm okay, honey. I said, it has been a really big few weeks and Mum's just, you know, feeling the feels, and sometimes we just need to have a cry and get it out. She goes, yeah, I get it. All the feels, she says. Like, she gets it. Like, my daughter
How old is she? 13?
She's 13 and she gets
wow.
it. And she sings, and I don't make my children wrong for having emotions. And this is the thing, is it can be passed down from generation to generation of people thinking it's wrong, or we're emotional beings, we're energetic beings, we're meant to cry. Why do you think we have tears?
Yeah.
They're there for a fucking reason.
Yeah. Yeah, too right.
So yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. I love emotions, and it just shows that people have a fucking heart. Like, they're connected to that heart space. And I mean, I could go right into the fluoride in our water and how we've actually been disconnected from our emotions. Did you know that fluoride is actually a drug that was used in the army to disconnect them from their heart space?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Nothing
so,
really,
guys,
nothing
if you're
really
watching
surprises
this
me
right
in this
now,
world.
go and have a Google and go and have a look up about fluoride and what it was actually used for.
It's definitely not there for our teeth.
No.
It's funny. I was talking to someone. Who was that? I think that was Pia. Was it? Yeah, I think it was Pia. That's right. On another podcast, and fluoride come into it. Yeah. Because they used to have the ads, you know, with the chalk, and the fluoride does get in, you know, to make it look like that was for our teeth. But
it's the same as shoes. You're not meant to wear shoes. You're meant to be earthing with Mother Nature. Yeah. Where do you think you get charged from? The sun. Guys, look at the solar panel. How do you charge a solar panel? With the fucking sun. We're energetical beings. We actually need sun. Same as sunglasses. You're not meant to, like, did you know that you're meant to watch the sun come up because it triggers like the hormones in your body to actually wake you up and get you going for the day, whatever. Dopamine, whatever else is the nighttime one, isn't it? So I can't remember what the morning one is. But same as watching the sun go down, it tells your body, it signals through your eyes to the chemicals to your brain to let you know that it's time for sleep, and it actually releases the hormones needed in your body so that you can go to sleep. But now we have blue lights. It's confusing our whole natural biorhythm. Like, it completely confuses the fuck out of us. So there's so much. Like, there is so much, guys, that we're meant to be there. We're meant to be bloody naked in nature. I tell you.
We're meant to be doing a lot of things, but
same as bras. They're not actually good for women to wear.
Yeah.
They've actually been known to cause cancers and different things as well, as sunscreen has been. Yeah. There's so much.
And talking about sunglasses, because I've lost mine I actually left them on the car roof. We were going down to see Sarah down in Wodonga.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've pulled up to go to the toilet and I've put them on top of the car and we've driven off on it and we had this kung kung kung. I went, oh, I wonder what that was. And then we get along the freeway and Kerry goes, I said, oh, where's my sunglasses? Oh shit, that's what the noise was. You know,
Universe was
like a
sending you a
$400
sign.
per, yeah. And
Yeah.
funny enough, I'm not sure if it was a podcast
Consumerism.
I was listening to or some other research. I'm always doing something researched for the health. And they said that you're not meant to wear sunglasses because when you go out into the sun, your body will automatically give you a sunscreen, like a sunscreen into your body for the sun so you don't get burnt. I went, oh,
The hormones and the chemicals. And it's the
yeah,
same. We were having some beautiful discussions at the retreat, right, around the fact that the Aboriginal people have darker skin for a reason. They're native to this land. The same as like people from England have white skin and they're made for their land and their temperature zones. And it's the same if you had an Australian plant and you planted that Australian plant in England, it would die. It doesn't have the right, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so we were actually never meant to cross migrate. And it's the same with what we eat as well. Like we're meant to eat the food that's native to us, to our land. That's why when we were talking about the blood tests and things, you know how you've heard of the blood diet? It's because they look at what you're made up of. Because I don't know what I'm made. I've got that much in me. Like, yes, three of my great grandparents were Aboriginal, so it is very strong in my bloodline, and I feel very called to the native land. And I definitely, and you can feel it in your digestive system, right? When I eat fish, when I eat clean, when I eat more of a paleo diet, I don't get tired, I don't burp, my farts don't stink if I fart at all, all of that kind of stuff. Um, like your body communicates with you, right? Our bodies communicate with us in so many ways through pain, through skin. Like if you've got pimples and bad skin condition, if you've got gas, if your breath smells like this, your body communicates to you um, in different ways, and she actually lets you know. Same as so, it's not just through emotions. But diet also has a lot to do with emotions, as I know when my kids have not been eating right, and I'm because they're teenagers, and I'm like, I have been telling you,
yeah,
there's chemicals in those Maltesers. You're
yeah,
the ones
yeah.
that'll eat them all night. Don't be having a hissy fit at me because you're coming down off your sugar high.
Yeah, and I see parents all the time with their young kids that are out of control, and then they've
With
got
a
to give them
can
a
of
bag,
Coke.
and they give them a bag of lollies. You know, I'm thinking, mate, you're feeding the dragon.
And this is the other thing too is see, and I was that parent when my kids were younger, is we've been so conditioned, oh, it's just a lolly,
Yeah,
just let them have a treat. Or even in the mainstream diet world, right? I lost 25 kilos. So this is really when my journey started. I was 85 kilos. I had been drinking alcohol every night. Conditioning again. We're conditioned to believe that alcohol, we need alcohol after a hard day work, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. It is the most potent drug out there. It's so bad. Um, excuse my language, guys. I'm just,
just say it how it is, Trina. Don't worry about it. It's
it
all right.
is, but it's just like, it's just
You
the
know, talking about the
conditioning.
alcohol, right?
The
If you go to
conditioning.
the movies, like every single movie, every single show has the programming of alcohol in it. Like
Yeah,
every single show and every movie has
yeah,
alcohol in it. So
yeah.
it's just like to say, yeah, alcohol's all right. No, it's not.
And I've talked to friends overseas and they're like, you Aussies, like, what is it about sitting around a bonfire with some mates and a beer? And I grew up in the culture. I lived down in New South Wales, Riverina, so near Canberra. And I used to go to the Summer Nats from like 16 years of age. I went to the Summer Nats, which is a car show. And they've got Miss Summer Nats and she's got tits and the guy's got the trophy wife and the trophy car and beers and blokes and boobs. Like the conditioning in Australia is just, yeah. And again, that's another toxic thing. I fell into that. I actually had breast augmentation 3.5 years ago, and I'm petrified to go back and get them removed because I actually had an adverse reaction to the codeine and I ended up convulsing on the floor. Like there's so much, we're so conditioned to think and believe that health is a number on the scales, that it's to look a certain way and to have an aesthetic. It's about how you fucking feel. I can guarantee that there are people out there that are 20 kilos heavier than you know, you've got these weightlifting people, and then you've got people that are heavier. The heavier people are probably healthier than the people that lift weights, because they actually put their body through that much trauma, and they're having like synthetic drugs. They're having all of their bloody, what is it? You know, I can't even think what they're called now. Your powders to wake you up and get you going. Like, you actually don't need that when you're eating right, when you're eating a right diet, you know? So the conditioning, just don't even get me started.
Conditioning. Oh, and that's the thing with all the
started.
movies, even all the kids' movies. And someone was telling me they went and watched that Barbie movie
Oh, I
the other
haven't. Yeah,
day.
my daughter's seen that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
they said
haven't heard about it yet.
it's horrendous. What they're trying to portray in there with uh the the Ken turning gay, and the mums, yeah,
Oh,
and the feminist movement and all this stuff. Yeah, one of the
and
girl
yeah,
ladies that watched it, they just said, oh, they were shocked. So
and
it's
yeah, that
so
yeah.
bad. Yeah.
And that's where I was going to with the lollies, with the conditioning, right? Parents are giving their kids lollies or whatever else because they feel guilty and they think that it's a treat, but it's not actually a treat. You're literally poisoning your child. And if you can look at it as a, I said to my 13-year-old daughter the other day, she went to Woolworths and she brought this chocolate for her friend that's turning 13 or has turned 13. And I said to her, how does it feel knowing that you're giving your friend poisoning for her birthday? And she goes, well, she's the one that wanted it. It's not on me. It was her choice, not mine.
I've got to say, I don't mind that poison either. Chocolate.
And I mean, if you've got, if you're drinking enough water and you're flushing your body, and you know, we can't escape chemicals. We can't, like, let's face it, there are chemicals everywhere. They're in our beauty products, they're in everything in our house, in the air, they're everywhere. If you can really focus on trying to eat 80% predominantly really, really well, and if water is so important, guys, like, I can't stress this enough. I do like a 3-day water detox probably once every 8 weeks, because when I do the 3-day, and please don't go just and do a 3-day water detox. There are specific ways where you need to actually lead in and lead out. So you need to be having quite a clean diet leading in, and then you do your detox, and you've got to do it with clean water. And then when you come out, you've got to ease back into it, or you can do damage to your digestive system.
Yeah.
So there are
And that's very
protocols.
important that people know that, because even with,
Don't just go and do it.
yeah, even with just the intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
you're supposed, you're meant to, the first thing that you put back into your body, you shouldn't be too heavy. You got to lead back out of it.
100%.
Yeah,
And I think
this is the part nobody says anything like that though. This is the thing. Oh, just go and do the detox, and just go and do this and go and do that.
educate yourself first.
Yeah, do a
100%.
little bit of education. Yeah,
100%. And I mean, like, when your first thing, if you are doing intermittent fasting and things like that, which is, it's really good, right? So
yeah,
you
yeah.
will notice.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's great. And you'll notice, like, basically, as I said, we're energetical beings. So when your food is digesting inside you, you'll notice that you feel a bit lethargic. Imagine you on Christmas Day and everyone's stuffed themselves at lunch, and then in the afternoon everyone has a snooze.
Yeah,
That's because everyone's digestive system is working overtime, and all of your energy that you can walk and talk with has gone inside because your body's busy breaking down that food. And that's why I say it's really important to eat. Imagine your body trying to break down chemicals, or trying to break down a big fat steak or something like that. So yeah, as you're coming out of that intermittent fasting, it's water first, and then it's something nice and light. Like, maybe you might have some scrambled eggs, or maybe you have a salad or something. And I think Barbara O'Neill actually says it. She says, eat breakfast. What is it? Eat breakfast like a something, basically a king of a nighttime. Lunch like a queen, dinner like a king. So it's basically that your heavier meals, and I eat of a nighttime as well. So I have a light lunch and then I have a heavier dinner, and it actually helps me sleep better because my digestive kicks in and I'm like, yeah, ready for bed now.
but what I think what everybody should do, right? Because we're so different. There's a very good TED talk where they said, what's the perfect diet for humans? And so they did this experiment with, I think, like 20 people, or fed them all the same food, and 20 different results. Yeah. Because everyone has a certain belief around a certain food, if it's going to make them sick or healthy.
Yep.
And so the idea is to become your own boss.
Yeah, 100%. Listen to your body. She communicates
listen
with
to
you.
your body.
And I definitely think there is something.
Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. That's the other
100%.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think there definitely is something in that blood stuff, right? And
Mm.
as I said, like, we don't know. No one knows what's true and what's false. We only know our own truth. We don't know what someone else's truth is. They've had a different journey or a different life. So, like, go within, listen to your body, really tune in and go, like, is this actually sitting okay in my gut? If I eat dairy, I don't believe that human beings should eat dairy. I don't
Oh,
know who came up with the
thank you.
concept.
I
Yeah,
just
like,
can't. I
who
can't
came up with the
understand how
concept?
I can't understand how we got to be eating a cow product. Like the cow, you think about the milk is there to bring up
A
a
cow.
calf, a
Yeah,
calf with 4 legs into
yeah,
like 1,000 kilo beast,
yeah,
like quickly. And so
yeah.
we're putting all that hormone and all that growth and all that stuff
It's not
into,
meant for our
yeah,
bodies.
into
Yeah.
the human 2-legged version.
We're the only mammals that drink milk from another species. You're
Yeah,
meant
it's
to
weird,
drink your
isn't it?
mother's milk and then water. That's what you're meant to drink. And soft drinks, like the chemicals, if you're drinking diet soft drinks, you're basically choosing to give yourself cancer. If you were drinking full speed, like whatever, full fuel Coke and sugar, you're giving yourself diabetes. So what do you want? Do you want diabetes or do you want cancer or do you want neither? Drink some fucking water and make sure it's filtered. Make sure it's filtered. But yeah,
Just
100%. Like, who came up with the concept of, oh, hang on, let's just put our human head under a cow's titty and have a suck?
oh
I
yeah,
mean, and back in the day as
yeah,
well, like, women would sit around in circle, and if a woman did have trouble producing milk, and I'll go back to the fact that it's our diet that is causing us not to be able to produce milk. But in some kind of a scenario, if a woman couldn't produce milk, she would give it to another surrogate mum, and that
yeah,
soon became illegal as well because it wasn't safe or it wasn't, bullshit. Anyway.
yeah, the dairy. I think if people just did that one thing and gave up dairy, their life would be a lot better, a lot
Yeah.
better. And
Yeah.
you see because I know now when I have a bit of that poison chocolate, the dairy, I nearly get pimples straight away. Like a pimple will
Yeah.
pop up, on my head or somewhere, and because I don't eat dairy, I never eat dairy now, and my
Actually,
body just reacts to it straight away.
I feel super called to share this story. So you'll know after the retreat, or you might know that I actually went up to see my nan in hospital because I really had this download of I need to go see my nan. She's in hospital. Now, when I was a baby, I was allergic to milk and I was bleeding from the bum, like literally bleeding. So that's how they knew that I was allergic to milk. My nan has been bleeding for months and months and months. She's had different operations and different things, and they can't get to the bottom of it. My nan's in hospital. She's also diabetic. And the kitchen staff, or they come in and they serve her up her tray of food. It had fish and salad. That's really nice. It also had ice cream. It also had cheesecake. It also had lemonade and jelly.
Yeah,
Now, my uncle who was sitting there with me, who actually does sports science, he was like, is she on a diabetic diet because she shouldn't be having like the lemonade and the jelly? And I was like, not just that, but the fact that I was bleeding from the bum when I was a baby and I was allergic to milk, and she's got the same thing and she's eating dairy, that makes me wonder, like, what the heck? And when we asked the nurse about it, she said, oh, a little treat won't hurt. So again,
this
when we're
like,
going
like
back
this
to
little punch in the face won't hurt.
we've been conditioned to see it as a treat. And she
Yeah,
said, like, she is on a diabetic diet, but that's not our job. That's the kitchen's job. So hang on, what are the kitchen trained in again? How to cook food. They're not medical scientists, but the nurse is meant to know. It just completely baffles me. And I was just absolutely gobsmacked. And I thought, you know what, if people just knew, literally, if you can understand the concept that you put medication in your mouth and it fixes you, or a Panadol, it fixes the headache. It's the same with your food. Like, you're literally, what you put in your mouth, it matters. What you breathe in matters. What goes in through your skin matters. We've got all of these different ways in which chemicals enter our body. Like, it all matters, guys. We literally become what we eat. So
yeah.
there needs to be more education around it. There needs to just these
You're up against the
conversations are
sick care
great.
system, you know that. So it's
Yeah,
a
and
multi-trillion-dollar system. So that's why we're called the global health rebellion, because we're rebelling against the system.
And I want to say thank you. Like, thank you, Troy, for having these conversations and for bringing awareness to this, because this is how we change it. And I think that so much in the last 3 years, it has actually been a really big, beautiful gift. There are so many people that are actually like, oh, hang on, and they're looking after their health and they're looking deeper. Like, people are actually beginning to, hate to say this word, but wake up.
Yeah,
People are
I don't
actually,
like the word wake up either,
no,
but
no.
it's a
I don't like I'm woke and they're asleep. No,
yeah,
you
no.
know, I
I
was
just say
very
open
much
up a door, you
asleep
know.
for
I
most
just
of my
say
life.
everyone's been boxed into a box, and then we just open up the lid
100%.
and have a look
100%.
around. Then there's all these other boxes around, you know. Go,
That's
oh, what's
right.
going on over there? Who's in that
We
box?
and we only know what we know, right? And if I'm to go back into my story in the beginning, is like it's passed down through generations. Like my nan that's in hospital, that's my mum's mum. And like then there's my mum and she worked in cafes. Like my mum only taught me what she knew and what she'd been taught. And have you ever heard that story? I can't remember who shares it, but it's about the lamb, right? And the granddaughter's like, Mum or Grandma, why do we cut the end off the lamb? And she's like, oh, well, I don't know. We'll ask such and such. And they go up the line, and it turns out that great, great, great grandma somewhere along the line chopped off the end of the lamb so that it would fit in the oven, because the ovens back then were really small. And no one asked any questions. People just replicated it because that's what Nan did, right? And it's the same with anything else in our life. Diseases and all of this other crap, they're not hereditary. They don't run in families. It's the fact that you eat the same diet. You
Yeah,
eat the same thing as what your parents eat because they're cooking the food for you. You know, I can go really deep into so many stories there, but I won't share other people's stories.
yeah.
But yeah, there's just so much to it. So
Yeah,
definitely raising awareness and having these conversations are so important because people don't know what they don't know.
yeah. And I believe the pyramid, right, of what we're told to eat is
Yep.
to make sure we're dead by 65, you know, because after 65, we're a burden. So before 65, we're an asset to the players. And then after 65, we're a burden, you know, because we go on the pension, all that stuff. And so the quicker they can bump you off, the better. And it was so true in the old days because, you know, most people would, men especially, 67, 66, they'd be gonskis, and then the women would last a couple of years later. But with medication now, you can obviously prolong things. But it doesn't mean your life is necessarily better. It just means you've been prolonged. You know, we're not
And I
really
mean,
living life. You're just alive.
that's it. And look at the people that practice traditional Chinese medicine and all of that kind of stuff. Look at the quality of their life and how they actually outgrow most kind of Australians. There's something in that, guys. Like, have a look around.
Yeah.
The evidence and everything that you need to know is actually right in front of you. It's just the fact that we're completely blind to it or unaware until someone actually shines a light on it and we go, oh, hang on a second, there's something in this. It's nearly about unlearning. And it's funny you said about the pyramid. I was a childcare cook for 2 years, and I 100% believe that my path, everything, like I look back on my life path and I'm like, holy shit, that all happened for me. Like literally happened for me. And I say to people, it's kind of like going to a counselor. Like I know when I talk to someone if they've had lived experience through something or if they've been textbook trained. If they've been trained through a university, through a government school, you're taught what they want you to know. Go off someone that's had lived experience and that's actually felt it and that's actually, yeah, these conversations change life because we don't know what we don't know. We don't
Yeah.
know unless we've felt it. I don't know
Well,
what you're feeling or thinking. I'm
yeah.
not
So,
in your
but
fucking body
with
or your
health,
head.
yeah, with health, I think the very best thing anybody can do is work out who you are first. You
Yeah.
know, who am I? Like what, you know, have a starting point, weigh yourself and look in the mirror and take your photo and look and think, go, right, am I happy where I'm at? No? Or yes. If no, okay, whatever I've been doing to now has got me to here. So I need to change something. Let's just
100%.
change one thing. Let's
Yeah.
just change, you know, whatever it is, drinking or something with a diet. We'll change one thing. All right, no, that's not it. I'll bring that back. We'll change the other thing. And just make yourself like into an experiment. But it
100%.
becomes exciting though. Like when you
Yeah.
understand how everything works, like
Yeah.
life just gets exciting because, you know, things like, especially your health, the health just gets better. Like I just got my results. Oh, geez, like the sick care system winds me up. I had to ring 5 times. I had to ring our sick care professional to get my results.
Mm.
And then this morning I rang them up. I said, this is my 5th time to try and get my results. Oh,
Mm.
yeah, yes. Yeah, I can see the email. Yeah, that's all right. I'll send them out now. All right. And
Mm.
anyway, so my PSA, because men have a PSA thing, 3 years ago got really high.
Mhm.
Not massive high. It was just over the limit. It's like five. I think it's up to 5.5, and I was like 5.7 or something.
Yeah.
And then I went, shit, it's no good. So then the doctor, they send you off and think, oh, yeah, you might have to get your prostate out and all this shit, and you'll have to uh, uh, go and get all the tests and go on medications and stuff. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. And so what I did, I just created a new reality for myself to bring the prostate down to 0 in my head, and then I also said, what do I need to do in the way of health? And then I
Yeah.
just started on the journey 3 years ago. And then, so my results, I think I'm down to 3.5. So instead of
Love it.
going up,
Love it.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm coming down. Like,
100%.
yeah,
You remind me of
but everyone has the ability, like everybody, every single person, you, me, everybody has the
yeah.
ability to regulate their health and their mind and all these things. And it's just a matter of like, but we're all so different. Like what's good for me will be totally opposite for you. And what's good for you will be totally opposite for the next person. So everyone,
100%.
you have to work out who you are. That's the, that's,
100%.
that's the thing. And then just then make a start.
Yeah.
Just make a
$100%.
start to get into it.
You've just reminded me of a story. I don't know if you've read Dr. Joe Dispenza's books.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Fucking love them.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. So there's a book that I started with, recommendation for anyone watching on. Um, how to lose your mind and get a new one, breaking the habit of being yourself.
Yeah.
And it's really, he explains it in a really just straight down the point, actual science backed, and then also the quantum physics side. But I know that he shared about a lady whose husband committed suicide, and they had children, so she had suppressed the emotions. And I can't remember the exact story, so go get a copy of the book and have a read. But basically, they go on to say, or maybe it was becoming supernatural. This one was in the
Yeah.
story was in, but basically, like she took medication and then there was a side effect. So then she got this and that and blah, 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 blah. Basically, it kept building up and she kept getting more dis-ease in the body, because that's all disease is, right? It's dis-ease. It's telling you something's not right. She ended up with cancer. And then through his meditations and his medical practices and really getting into the mind and sending energy to the parts of the body that needed healing, because our body knows how to heal. It's just creating the right environments, right? So we know that cancer actually can't survive in an alkaline state. Like that's another thing, right? It's
You would
having
think
knowledge.
that you would think
Knowledge
that
is
they would tell
power.
you that, wouldn't they? You would think that the
You
doctor
would
would say
think.
to you and go, my brother, he died of cancer, brain cancer. And like he didn't change his diet. Like he didn't change his diet.
Yeah.
He did a few other things, but could he have lived longer?
Yeah,
We don't
exactly.
know, maybe.
No.
But
And see,
you
yeah.
never hear that. I've never heard one single doctor
Yeah.
or, say to these cancer people, go, what about you go on to a green juice diet or something, or some sort of something to try and flush it out, or like,
100%.
nah,
And starving the cancer and
yeah,
fasting and getting your body into an alkaline
yeah,
state. Like there's so much. And guys, like I want you to know as well is I just didn't like get this knowledge. I research, I listen to podcasts, I do personal development, I do courses, do you know what I mean? Like get out there, look outside the box, research, listen to people's stories who have actually lived through experiences and healed from them. They are the proof in the fucking pudding. All of these people that go and get like chemotherapy, what are the survival rates? It's pumping your body full of more chemicals. So I don't want to make health claims. I don't get in trouble or anything like that. But like, yeah, keep
yeah.
your eyes open
We
and
don't know for sure that
go
it's not
and
going to help
read.
somebody,
No,
but yeah,
go and research. Go and, as you said, Troy, intuitively sit with yourself and who are you? Like what actually works for you? How do you feel after you eat dairy? For me, I get pains straight away. I can feel them. Like it's like ouch. And I also explain this to people, like if you don't have adverse effects, for example, this whole thing, my sister got it and she had no effects at all. Other people did. And I said to her, if I got that, I would probably die, because I explain it in a way of, if you give someone that's never had alcohol before a drink, they're probably going to like get drunk and fall over or whatever. But if you give someone whose body is conditioned to having 6 drinks a night or a carton, some people can drink like a carton of beer and it not affect them because their body has built up a resistance to it. You can actually, do you know what I mean? So the cleaner your vessel is, and the more you remove chemicals out of your diet and start looking after yourself, the more in tune with your body you're going to be, and you're actually going to be able to hear her or him speaking to you.
Yeah. So, yeah, 100%. It's, yeah, there's, you got to get to know yourself. That's the thing.
That's it.
Love the person you're looking at in the mirror. That's step one. Yeah. And so, Trina.
Yes.
I often ask the guests to see, because I believe everything's just a program, and our first program happens between 0 and 7. So I'm just wondering if your program between 0 and 7 has led you to where you are today.
Yeah. And it's really funny that you asked me this question, right? Because I have actually blocked out 0 to 7 and I don't really remember a lot of it. And at the retreat, we actually did an inner child thing. We had to go and we had to think about happy times in our childhood. And I was looking and I couldn't find happy memories. I really had trouble. And this is what kind of happens with trauma. With trauma, you block out certain parts. And trauma can be very little. It can be very big. But my parents were amazing. Disclaimer, by the way, they're amazing. They're beautiful. They love me. They're hardworking. I love them to death. They raised me with the cards that they were dealt kind of thing, but they came from a lineage of trauma themselves. And I'm all about breaking the generational cycle. So I'm like, holy shit, yes, like everything in my life has happened to me for a reason. It's led me to my purpose work, to where I am today. So yeah, I 100% do believe that different things, like my mum still to this day, she doesn't say I love you. She hates cuddles. And what is one thing children need is emotional connection. And what do I talk about? Emotional regulation and all that kind of stuff, and suicide. And it's been a huge part of, I was actually disconnected from that, and I didn't get that connection, and my feelings were made wrong. And I can imagine that the part of my childhood that I do remember, that 0 to 7 would have been the same. I can't see how it would have been any different. So yeah, I truly do believe, Troy, and I'm still working kind of like an onion where, you know, we peel back layers. And I went all the way back. I've actually gotten a memory further, but my memory before the last one I got to was at 10 years old, my pop abused me, and I kind of had shut everything off prior to that. And he was drunk. So hence the whole alcohol thing, right? What I talk about, go on. And he was a completely different person when he was drunk to when he wasn't. We don't know if it was a case of misidentity, if he thought that it was someone else in the bed, or what had happened. But anyway, before that, I remember at primary school, and maybe I was about 7, and we came home and we're like, Mum, we made the choir. And my mum turns around, she's like, oh, well done, Erin, you made the choir. And Erin's like, oh, so did Trina. And she's like, really? Like, oh. And I mean, I'm not a natural singer. They tell me that everyone can learn the skill. But like trauma can be little things like that, right? With like my mum is also, and my grandma, very brutally honest. Like, I've had my nan before say to me, oh my God, you look really fat in that. So sugarcoating. So I'm gonna so yeah, the answer to your question is yes, I truly believe that my childhood had a lot to do with where I am today.
Yeah, the programming, isn't it? And I think it's so important for young mums to realize that those first 7 years are so vital to for a child.
100%.
Yeah, incredibly 100%. Incredibly vital. But the thing too is you can't pretend like it's. People think that they just can smile and put it on a brave face or whatever, but energy is transferred. It's not spoken, you know. So that especially for mums, their energy is transferred onto the child. So if you have all the trauma, that's like you just said, that trauma's been passed down. And so it
100%.
just keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got to work on yourself first. That's the thing. And then
Yeah,
so you don't
definitely.
pass that on to to the new
Definitely.
to the new
And
child.
just know, if you're a mum watching on, it's never too late. My children had a lot of trauma passed down to them in their early years. I had 4 kids under the age of 5 by the time I was 25. I ended up with a drug addiction. I'm 9 years drug free. I had 12 years on depression, anxiety medication. Like, there was so much trauma. My husband was an interstate truck driver. I don't know if I said that. Like, I
No.
was at home by myself with my kids. I ran a traditional art business, and everyone looked at me like, oh my God, she's got her shit together, because my kids had immaculate book week costumes, and my house was spotless, and they had their like perfect lunch boxes, because society had conditioned me to believe that everything needed to be this perfect way. And I was drowning, and I had no idea about health, right? I found methamphetamines woke me up, and I'm like, oh, this is how all these people are going to the gym and how they're awake. No, they're actually looking after themselves, Katrina. Like, and I learned this afterwards. And we don't know what we don't know. And I want you guys to know that it's never, ever too late. In the last 3 years, so probably like, so 5 years ago is when I gave up smoking and I started running. So a year before that, actually. So after my drug addiction and I came clean, which
Can you
that's a
talk a little
whole
bit more
nother.
about your drug addiction? Like,
Yeah, I can go into
how,
that a bit more. So
how long were you on that
basically,
for?
quite a while. So after I had my first lot of depression, anxiety medication came after my daughter was born. I was only 19 years old. She was 6 weeks old. I'd had no sleep. She had what was called splashback reflux or silent reflux. So she would, when I laid her down, she would scream because it was burning. It was like acid, right?
Oh, wow.
And I reckon it has something to do with the formula as well, because I didn't breastfeed. And that was the other thing, is when I tried to breastfeed, there was no nurses in sight, and there was no one that was really helping me or showing me how to do it. And that's the other thing about community and being in women's circles. But I was diagnosed postnatal depression, and they put me on medication, and therefore there it went. You've got anxiety, you've got reactive depression, you've got seasonal depression, you've got fucking whatever they could label me with. Every few years, they would just change my medication and put me on a new medication. Not once was I asked, is there any trauma? How do you sleep? How do you eat? Blah, blah, blah. I was separated from my first partner. My daughter was 2 and my son was 6 weeks old, and I went through a separation. Myself and my new partner started dating when my son was 12 months old, and I fell pregnant by accident. I was actually on the pill, went out drinking, found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So then we went on to have 2 more kids. Like, there was so much shit that happened in my life, a suicide and abuse. Like, no one stopped and said, like, what has happened? They just said, here's another medicine. Here's another medicine.
Mm.
So I remember it was not long after my daughter was born. So I had 4 kids under the age of 5, and life was just really, really hard. And it was actually my partner at the time and some friends that they actually thought that I'd already used stuff, because I was always so high and up in the air, and that's just my natural state of being. So when I found out, I was like, oh my God, like, I had no idea. He was in the trucking industry. He'd been through all of his own stuff. And I had it one night when I was drinking, and the next day I'm like, didn't even do anything. I don't know why people have that shit. Like, it's stupid, right? And then I had some more when I was sober, and all of a sudden I had energy, and I cleaned my whole house, and we had our rental inspection. So it kind of crept in as a thing that when I was tired, I would have it to clean the house for house inspections or get my chores done. And I didn't actually realize how far it had crept up. And my husband kind of caught wind after we moved from the Southern Highlands back down here. And that was his kind of like, his wake up call, and he gave up. He was like, it took for me to end up with an addiction for him to go, holy shit, I need to look at me. So he had completely gotten rid of it. And then, so I went to a friend behind his back, because he told all of his mates, don't you dare. If I find out anyone gives her
Yeah.
anything, like, you will need to stop. And I went to a friend who introduced me to ice. And then, it went on for about 6 months. And I remember her like saying to me, just get like this certain amount and it'll last longer and all that. And I remember the week so clearly. We were going to a hen's party for another friend, and I made sure that I had enough food in the house, and I made sure that I had all of the stuff. So it was book week the following week. And, you know, I was the art teacher. My kids had to have immaculate book week costumes. God help if the art teacher didn't have the kid with the best costumes. And I just made sure everything was sorted and blah, blah, blah. And I went away. And my friend stayed at the motel room and we went out. And when I came back, she'd actually taken it all, what was left. Because by this point, she's got her own addiction and whatever. And I thank her every single day. I truly thank her every single day for this, because in that moment, I went into a panic mode. I'd never experienced an anxiety attack in my life. And I was like, how am I going to cope? Like, my husband's going in the truck and I have to clean the house and I haven't finished the book week costumes and I haven't done the food prep. And like, how am I going to survive without this? And then I was like, holy fuck, I'm addicted. Like, I'm in way too deep. Like, what the heck? So you don't realize until it's taken that you're in the depths. And, you know, it's much like abuse relationships and things. People don't realize what they're actually in, or that they're in stuff, until they come out and they take a look back. So, yeah, I remember coming into my hometown, like my cousin, she's so beautiful. She actually works for Lifeline now, volunteers for Lifeline. She came and got me, and she kind of sugar-coated and told my mum. She was kind of the buffer in between, because, you know, my mum could be quite like emotionally reactive. Again, she was not taught how to respond, she was taught how to yell. And I actually remember my mum coming to get me in Canberra, and she took me to the hospital, and I was treated like a piece of dirt. I was treated like a piece of shit. They were just like, I can't even describe the feeling. I literally felt dirty and that I wasn't worthy and that you're not worth my time. Like, you druggo kind of thing. And it's really opened my eyes to understand that people that with drug addictions need our help and support.
Yeah.
They've got an addiction for a reason, and that's a lot of the work that I do as well, is I help people move through trauma and move through addiction. And I really love doing these big conversations, because people weren't game enough to have these big conversations with me. And I remember coming into my hometown, and we got about 15 minutes outside in a really small little place, and I hyperventilated. I was not okay. I was in tears. I was shaking. I was like, they're going to take my kids off me. They're going to judge me. They're going to, like, I was petrified that my kids were going to get taken from me. And when I went into and I had to cry about this at the retreat, because I've never ever really sat and felt the gratitude. And I'm going to go visit him. I really am. So my doctor that delivered 3 of my babies, I walked into his surgery, and he said to me, he said, Katrina, I want you to, still in the makes me cry. He said, I want you to know that you're not a bad mum. You are not a bad mum. Those kids aren't going anywhere. And I really have so much gratitude in my heart for him, because had I not have lived in a small town and got that doctor, so many women lose their children. And it puts their kids and them through so much trauma. And a huge part of my mission and what I'm doing is, what I really want to roll out is, I want to see nannies that go into young mums' homes, and they live with them for 6 months or 12 months or however long it takes, and they teach them how to be a mum. Because a lot of these cycles that continue is because they've come from trauma. They haven't been taught how to be a mum from their mum, and they just need to be taught. They don't need to be shamed. They don't need their kids ripped from them. Like,
so how did you get off the ice? How long were you on ice for?
It was a decision. I just realized that I didn't need it.
Did you have all the
no. He wanted to take me. He said he wanted me to go to a retreat, like a facilitation, and I was not okay. I didn't want to leave my kids. So I was really lucky in the fact I went to my mum's house and I fucking slept. I slept, I ate, I pooped, I showered, and I went back to bed. Like, that was legit. Like,
yeah, wow.
And that's all it is really
you just made the decision, like an alcoholic.
I just realized, I realized I was in deep, and that this wasn't, I just realized.
Geez, what an adventure. My God.
And then from this, actually, I was then misdiagnosed bipolar.
Yeah.
So
again, you've had a lot of mixed misdiagnoses.
So, I mean, drugs make you go up and down, right?
Yeah.
The emotions. So I had a tablet to wake me up and a tablet to put me to sleep for 2 years. And then I went in, I remember I had a psychology appointment, and they said, look, we don't think that you've got bipolar. We think you've got cluster B personality disorder. And I was like, well, what's the fix? Like, what's the tablet straight away? What's the tablet? Oh, nothing. Just
what is it? Cluster B? I've never heard of that one.
Cluster B personality disorder.
Oh, wow.
Just talk therapy. And I read it. And you want to know something hilarious is that is my personality, and they were basically making it wrong. And that's actually what everyone loves about me. Everyone goes, we love your too muchness. We love that you talk so much. We love,
Cluster
and
B. Oh my God.
yeah. And then so after this, I was like, fuck this shit. I threw away the medication. I just stopped. And then 12 months later, I was like, threw away the cigarettes, stopped drinking, started running, lost 25 kilos. And then I went into the whole gym scene, right? And I really realized. So when I got up to the Sunshine Coast 2 years after that, I realized when I stopped exercising, because I had surgery and I couldn't exercise, when I stopped exercising and when I didn't have my community around me, all of a sudden I fell apart. And that's when I really dipped into my holistic health coaching. And when I started getting myself educated around, hang on, health's about so much more. Because I was like, I'm eating right, I'm sleeping right,
Yeah.
I'm exercising. Why do I still feel miserable? Because I still had more of my journey to discover, which is now what I teach. And that's what I say to people is I don't just fucking teach this shit, I embody it. Like
Yeah.
it's my life purpose, it's my life journey. Everything that's happening, if you're having a hard time right now, I want you to know that everything that's happening to you, it's actually happening for you. If you have been dealt what you think is a really hard life, like holy fuck, you've been sent here to help heal humanity. You are a healer. You have been put on this earth for more. Like, I don't know if I believe in God or the universe or whatever, but I do believe that those of us who are given the hard lives, it's because we can handle it, right? We
It's a
can
bit like
handle it.
Batman,
Yeah, we can handle it. We're
because I
strong.
can
Like,
take it. That's what he says.
exactly. And we're
Because I
limitless
can take it.
beings. We're
Yeah.
limitless. We're just,
Yeah. Become
yeah,
limitless. That's what I love.
yeah.
Yeah.
Keep expanding. Expand your emotional container. Expand your awareness. Like, you can be, do, and have it all. You just need to learn how to balance it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's a very good note to finish on, I think, Trina. Um, wow, what a conversation. I can't geez. That's a hell of a story.
You're
Yeah.
glad we got the story in there?
Yeah. And so how would people get in contact with you if they would like to you know,
Yeah.
some help in that direction?
So social media is probably the best bet. So you'll find me under Trina Naree on Facebook or Art of Living with Trina and Tribe on Instagram. They're probably the best places. I'm a bit of a Maddie Jan. I'm a creative. I'm always
Yeah.
changing paths. I do have a program that I do called 5 Days to a Happier, Healthier Me. It's super, super, super affordable. It's only $111. And it's 5 times one, not one-on-one. I'm going to roll out another program, so stay tuned. It'll be coming up in the next few weeks. It's 5 sessions. So from like a Monday to a Friday, an hour each night, just for 5 days. And I cover the 5 areas of health. So I really go into like everything from what you eat, what you put in your body, understanding calorie counting and really using it to your advantage to actually learn about energy in your body, because I transfer calories to energy, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about sleep and I talk about insight time. It's just an introductory program where you can come and get a ton of knowledge. And then if you feel called to any of my other programs or anything else or working with me, we just go from there. So
Oh, that's unreal. That's so
yeah,
great. Well,
yeah.
thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I greatly appreciate it.
So welcome.
Yeah, it was certainly an adventure.
It's always
Well,
an adventure.
I knew I was going to
Never a
love
dull
every minute
moment.
of it.
Yeah.
And you didn't let me down with all the energy, that's for sure. Yeah. And if you'd so we have podcasts 3 days a week. I try to make them 3 days a week because our mission is to raise the vibration of humanity, which is a very big mission. But we can only do that if we all bond together and all become one and all start working to raise your own vibration. That's how we do it. Just one person at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks very much for listening. And and thank you, Trina.
So welcome. Thanks for having me.